Hello and welcome to another episode. If you're new, welcome to the channel. If you're returning, welcome back. So today I thought we'd have a talk about salarymen in Japan. So salarymen in Japan refers to white-collar workers, typically male employees who work for companies like managerial staff, administrative, professional roles, so engineers, all that type of thing. And, the Japanese culture in the workplace is very traditional. These guys, they have to work long hours. It's pretty tough, actually, being a salaryman in Japan. My youngest son, he's a salaryman. He works at Lexus up in Toyota City. And, he's doing a couple of hours overtime every day, so, yeah, it's not real fun. Anyway, being a salaryman in Japan, they work long hours, these guys. They start early. They have to do overtime a lot of times. Sometimes they only allotted so many hours overtime a month, and many do over that. They don't get paid for it, so they're working for free. So a lot of them, the companies do pretty good. They can get a lot of work done for free, actually. If people go over their allotted hours, they don't get paid for. They have to clock on before the start time. Usually, 15 minutes earlier. Same thing at night. They finish like at a certain time. They have to clock off 15 minutes later. So the company's picking up like half an hour free work every day, So it all adds up. And yeah, it's pretty tough of them, Now, in Japan, there are companies which have more prestige. So if you're in the motor industry, if you work for Toyota, you're like at the top of the heap. You're the duck's guts sort of thing. And if you're in communication, like NTT, that's the sort of main ones. Now, I seen a story the other day on this guy who worked for NTT, and he wanted to get a new job. So he applied for this job at Dell, and he went for the interviews, did a few interview process, met the guys he'd be working with. He was going to have a better job, more money, better benefits, all this sort of stuff. So he found out on the Friday that he had got the job. So he went home and told the wife. She went off her brain. She rang up her parents and his parents. On the weekend, they had a big family meeting and come over and discussed it. And the wife told him if he changed and left NTT, she would divorce him. His parents said if he left NTT, they would disown him. Now, because it's a status symbol for the family too. The parents can say, oh, yeah, my son, he works for NTT. Oh, gee, that's good, and the wife, my husband, he's employed by NTT, da-da-da-da. So it's a real status symbol for a lot of these people where they work. So it is pretty difficult. So company loyalty is very strong. A lot of guys, they'll start work after they finish university at 22, and they'll stay there till they retire. They'll just work for one company for the whole year. So, that sort of thing. Now, also a lot of guys, young guys who work for the companies, their salary is not really good. Like my son, the first year he was working for the company, he didn't get paid a real lot. It was probably under or around $2,000 a month. And every year it goes up a little bit, So probably for the first 10 years you work for the company, you're not making a real lot of money. They do get paid a bonus. A bonus usually is about 1 month or 1.5 months of your salary, and they pay that twice a year. You get a summer bonus and a winter bonus. So they can end up picking up an extra 2 to 3 months salary for the year. But it's still not real good. And they get holidays, and sick leave is all joined into one. So most companies give them 10 days. They start off with 10 days holidays and sick leave combined. And every year they work for the company, they get an extra day. So when it hits 20 days, that's it. That's maxed out. Like in Australia, when I was working there, we used to get 20 days a year holiday, and then I used to get 15 days full pay sick leave, and also 15 half pay. After you'd been working there for 5 years or something, you could convert your full pay into your half pay into full pay. So you ended up with a lot of sick leave and holidays, and it was all separate. And we'd take a month at a time. You'd just have your whole holidays off in one go. In Japan, they can't do that. They have to put in, and they can only have a couple of days here and there. And if they get married, that's probably the biggest chance of them getting a decent holiday. You know, they can probably get 4 or 5 days off. With the weekends, it gives them, you know, probably 9 days. So yeah, it's pretty bad like that. You know, dress code is very formal. A lot of these guys have to wear suits, white shirts, neckties, this sort of thing. Good shoes. You know, it's very professional looking sort of thing. You know, work-life balance is very tough for a lot of these guys. You know, they go to work early, they come home late. If they're married, they don't see their kids very often. You know, the kids are in bed by the time they get home. They're still in bed when they get up and go to work. Weekends, these guys are sort of really tired. They don't really have much to do with them. You know, it's just sort of, yeah, they don't have a real lot to do with their kids. You know, and a lot of them aren't even married. You know, they find it hard to find a girlfriend or a wife because they're not making a lot of money. You know, the women tend to go for the men who are making a lot of money, who can buy a nice new house and new cars and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, if they do get married and do buy a new house and cars and all this sort of stuff, you know, when they get their bonus, most of their bonus goes to pay off the loans. When you get a house loan or a car loan, they will put in that, you know, when it comes summer bonus or winter bonus, you have to pay so much % of your bonus to pay off the loan. So, you know, they're not really that well off, you know, when it comes to that. Now, another thing too, some of the managers and that maybe not married and they don't have much to do, so they like to go out drinking. You know, a lot of them drink a lot, so they like to go out drinking. So they drag the younger guys along with them, you know, to keep them company when they go out drinking. My wife's cousin, her husband, he fell into this trap. His boss always wanted him to go out drinking with him, so he'd be out 2 or 3 nights a week. You know, and his wife was getting really angry with him, you know, because he'd come home 2 o'clock in the morning drunk. You know, he's going through spending so much money on going out drinking. But it's sort of, they're put under this peer pressure from the boss. You know, you sort of have to do it. You know, if you don't do it, you'll get looked over when it comes to promotion and all this sort of stuff. You know, you're not a team player and this sort of stuff. There's a lot of pressure put on these young guys. So it is pretty tough for a lot of these fellas, you know, to have the work life and home life balance. You know, the wife wants one thing and their boss wants another thing. So it's really, really tough for a lot of these young guys. They find it very hard. And yeah, so it is tough being a Japanese salaryman. You know, trends are sort of changing a little bit, but it is still very, yeah, you know, work is the main thing. Like in Australia, we sort of work to live. You know, you work, you make money, you spend your money, you have a good time, you go out and this sort of stuff. In Japan, it's sort of the opposite. You know, you live to work. You know, work is sort of the most important thing in some of these guys' lives. You know, a lot of them have no hobbies or anything. They've got nothing to do, you know, and when they retire, you know, these guys, they've got nothing to do. So a lot of them, they'll retire from a company, they got nothing to do, so they'll go get a part-time job and they'll work part-time till, you know, some companies will employ people to they're 80 years old. So, you know, they can, if they retire at Toyota at 60, they'll go get a job at another company and just do part-time work for another 20 years. It gives them something to do. And the wives like it too, because they don't want them hanging around the house all the time. It's, it drive them crazy, you know, having the husband just hanging around the house. They've got nothing to do and they just sit around the house watching TV all day. So the wives are quite happy with them getting a part-time job and that sort of thing. Plus, also the pensions in Japan aren't really that fantastic, so it's a bit hard to live on a pension. So doing a part-time job, they're getting little bit of extra money, so it helps in that respect. So yeah, it's not real flash being a salary worker in Japan. They, you know, a lot of these guys, I think, are pretty miserable. You know, they're not real happy. You know, like especially if you work in a big city like Tokyo and that. You know, they got to get up early, head in on the early train and that sort of thing. Trains are crowded. It's all busy. And then, you know, they're dragging themselves home at, you know, 10, 11 o'clock at night. They come home, have something to eat, have a shower, and into bed. Then they're up again at 5 o'clock in the morning to do the whole thing over and over again. So it is really tough being a salaryman in Japan. You know, you wouldn't really want to do it. And they don't treat them really that well. There's not a real lot of benefits. Anyway, that's my thoughts on being a salaryman in Japan. If you got any ideas or any thoughts, please leave a comment and I'd be happy to read them and see if I can answer them. So that's all for now. Till next time, see you later.